Hey guys, it's Greg from Big Goblin again, and I'm sure we all know about the Logitech G502 Hero mouse by now. It's been a popular go-to for many gamers over the years since the mouse is rather solid, and Logitech have kept improving on the original design, having added the Hero sensor and changed the cable to a braided cable a few years ago, which is the model that we're talking about today from 2018. So today I just want to check in with my long-term user report to show you all how it's been holding up for the past year or so that I've been using it.
You smell that? It smells like a bit goblin.
First up, let's talk about where this mouse comes from. The Logitech G502 mouse was first released way back in 2014. Wow, that makes me feel old. As the G502 Proteus Core. It was a solid mouse for gamers featuring a scroll wheel that's toggleable between free spinning and not, adjustable weights, and a 12,000 DPI optical sensor, amongst other features. Then there was the G502 Proteus Spectrum in 2016, which was basically the same thing, just with the blue accent lights replaced with RGB. Next, we have the G502 Hero from 2018 that we'll be talking about today, that introduced the Hero sensor and a braided cable to the same beloved mouse. And finally, in 2019, Logitech introduced a wireless version of it with their Lightspeed wireless technology. Honestly, the mouse hasn't changed too much over the years, but I get it. Why fix what isn't broken? Now, looking at the price of this mouse, I got this mouse for $60 back in December of 2020. For that price, I'd say it was a good deal, for which I'll explain in a little bit, but now I'm finding this mouse going regularly for $40 on Amazon and somewhere around $50 on Newegg. I would say this is insane to me, but it looks like a lot of other models of mice from other brands are dropping in price too, so it may just be par for the course. Though, to be clear, this is a good thing to see nonetheless, since lower prices is better for everybody. Now, I know it doesn't matter too much, but I just love the look of this mouse. I don't quite know how to describe the overall aesthetic, but I really do like how the matte black housing meshes with the glossy white accents. And the configurable RGB does give it a little bit of a personal touch, even if it is kind of small there on the logo. I can see this look not being for everyone though, since it does look a little busy, and there is an all black version, like the regular version of the mouse if you prefer that. Moving on to actually using the mouse, it fits very well in my hand. It's long enough that I can use my preferred palm grip nicely without needing to roll my finger up into a claw grip mix thing. And it does feel a bit narrow to me, but not really in a bad way. I just kind of prefer wider mice. And I will also say I do like the textured grips on the sides. Out of the box, the mouse didn't have any of the additional weights added to it, and this felt fine to me, but if you prefer it to be heavier, then you can just pop open the bottom of it and slot in as many of the 5 included weights as you would like. Configurability is a great thing to see here. The left and right click buttons feel very crisp to me, and I wish I had more to say other than they're just not overly loud or cheap feeling. For comparison, here's a cheap Dell mouse that kind of like screams to me when I click it. The scroll wheel, though, is really nice. It feels just fine to me, but the cool thing for this is this button that you can press right here to change whether the scroll wheel is free spinning or not. Now, I prefer mine to not be free spinning, and having the option to go free spinning if you want this gives this mouse a bit more versatility. You've also got a couple buttons here on the side that are set to forward and back by default, like a lot of other mice, and while I never use these buttons, they feel fine to me. They're not like overly mushy or crappy feeling or anything. Now, of course, we need to talk about the Hero sensor, since that's what the big change was for this model of the mouse. And, well, because it's in the name. It feels great when I'm using it, movements are accurate and feel snappy, but I have noticed that the mouse cursor seems a little jittery when I set it to a higher DPI setting. I'm not entirely sure if it's just my hand is like shaking very slightly when I move the mouse, and the higher DPI is exaggerating the movements or something, or I'm just some pleb that's used to lower DPIs. But when I have it set to 4800 DPI or below, it feels fine. Now, speaking of the sensor, another neat feature of this mouse are the DPI adjustment buttons on the side of the mouse. By default, the DPI profiles on my mouse were 1200, 2400, 3600, and 6400, and I've adjusted mine up slightly, dropping the 1200 and adding 4800. The only problem is they're a little too easy to hit for me, and sometimes I find myself randomly bumping the buttons to change DPI with my index finger. This isn't frequent enough to make me hate it, but it is enough for me to notice it. There's also this DPI shift button on the side towards the front of the mouse that lets you quickly flip between whatever DPI setting you're currently on and a different setting. Say if you wanted a faster setting for gaming and then a lower one for everything else. This kind of seems a little frivolous to me, but it's neat, I guess. As for the durability, surprisingly, it's held up pretty well. I don't mean that in that the G502 mice are known for dying or anything, at least I haven't heard anything about that. I just mean that I seem to kill any mouse that I use on a regular basis rather quickly. It may seem silly to you, but my guess is it's because I play old school RuneScape, which can have a lot of frantic clicking at times, and I tend to be rather hard on my mice and keyboards. But regardless, so far it's been doing fine over the year plus that I've been using it. I had a scare a couple weeks ago though, where it started double clicking and sometimes even failing to register a click, but after a couple days it just magically went back to normal, which is kinda odd to me. Great, but odd. I seem to remember Logitech G-Hub having a few updates in that week, so maybe it was a software bug somehow, but either way, I'm happy now that it's working well. Now as for the software side of things, you can configure your G502 mouse through Logitech's G-Hub software, just like you would do with other Logitech peripherals. It's pretty slick and easy to use. You can do all kinds of customizations in G-Hub, from changing the lighting on the mouse, changing what each of the buttons do on your mouse, and setting the different profiles for games or whatever. Of course, it supports other Logitech peripherals, and there are apparently a ton of other features like a built-in OBS, if you'd want to use that. But if you're like me, then you're not really going to care too much about that beyond it changing the color and adjusting DPI once or twice. And also, if you're like me, then you'd want a way to customize your mouse on Linux. And if that's the case, then I have good news for you. There's a piece of software called Piper, which is built on the libratbag library. I just love that name, libratbag. That's kind of like a replacement for G-Hub in that it lets you mostly modify your peripheral's RGB lighting and change the DPI setting on the mouse and set profiles. However, unfortunately, that's all it does, so it's not really a direct replacement for G-Hub if you use a lot more of the features. And it doesn't support all peripherals, so you'll have to check out the project's compatibility list to see if your mouse or keyboard is supported. But what matters right now is that the G502 is, in fact, supported. Alright, so to wrap this all up, considering that it is going strong for me still after 14 months of heavy usage, and mind you, I do a lot on my desktop between a good amount of gaming, including OSRS, which can be a little click intensive at times, video and photo editing for my channel, and other hobbies like programming and stuff, which, to be fair, doesn't use the mouse too much. I can see now why this mouse has been popular, though, for so long. It's not that expensive and frequently goes on sale. It lasts for a long time, though this is only a sample size of one. But if it was failing a lot, then I doubt it would be as popular as it is. And it's also really configurable, not just in software, but somewhat physically though, with the removable weights and adjustable scroll wheel. And like I said, in recent years, thanks to the help of the Linux community, you can configure it while you're running Linux and don't have to worry about having like a dual boot with Windows or something. There really isn't a lot going against it, honestly. The only things I can really think are that it doesn't have a ton of macro buttons on the side of the mouse, like a lot of MMO mice might have. And it really isn't all that flashy looking. It is, to be fair, it is kind of boring. Sure, it has RGB, but it's just a little G-like. But if you don't need more than the 11 configurable buttons on the mouse, and you're fine with the look, then this mouse could be a good fit for you. As for me, ultimately, I don't think I'm going to change my mouse anytime soon unless this one gives up the ghost. After my previous mouse went up, I decided to change it up a little bit and take a chance on something new. Though I don't know if you can really call it taking a chance with a popular product like the G502. But anyways, it's definitely not perfect, and I've had mice that feel slightly better in my hand, like my previous Corsair M65, I believe the name was. But overall, it's been pretty solid for me, and I'm not really in any rush to move off of this mouse anytime soon. And honestly, if this one dies, I might just buy a new one because for $40 for a mouse that I know I like and is pretty solid, it's kind of hard to beat. Alright guys, that's all I have for this one, and be sure to let me know in the comment section below if you've already got this mouse, which I'm sure at least some of you do, and what you think of it. Or if you have another peripheral you'd like me to take a look at on this channel, I'm always glad to hear suggestions for future content. As always, if you disliked the video, then you know what to do, but if you did like it, then go hit that like button, and consider getting subscribed and hitting the bell icon so you don't miss any of my future videos. I've also got a Discord server if you'd like to join the community and just chat and hang out with us, or if you need it, we are more than happy to try and help you with any computer issues you might have. I hope you all have a great day, and I will catch you in the next one.